Hello and welcome to RichInsider. Today we dive deep into Australia's housing crisis and the alarming trend of many full-time workers facing homelessness. As of February 2023, more than 640,000 Australian households are under housing stress. It is forecasted that this figure will grow to almost 1 million by 2041. For millions of Australians, owning a home has become an impossible dream. At the heart of this crisis are soaring property prices. Over the past few decades, housing prices in Australia have skyrocketed, leaving many Australians grappling to keep afloat amidst the tide of rising costs. A new research states that the average Australian can't afford to buy a house anywhere in the country. According to recent analysis conducted by the Parliamentary Library, there is not a single city or region in Australia where the average income earner can afford to purchase a house. Coupled with this is the issue of stagnant wages. Despite the increasing cost of living and property prices, wages have largely remained stagnant, putting a squeeze on the average full-time worker's budget. Australian home prices have continued to rise, increasing by 8% over the year and 1.3% in the March quarter, bringing home prices to a record high. Despite the Australian economy experiencing a slowdown due to sharply higher interest rates, house prices have continued to rise. But it's not just about skyrocketing prices and stagnant wages. The housing crisis is also a story of supply and demand. The demand for housing has outpaced the supply, which has driven prices further beyond the reach of many Australians. This imbalance has been particularly hard on single-income households and full-time workers, who, despite holding steady jobs, are finding it increasingly difficult to afford housing. As demand for housing continues to outpace supply, an increasing number of Australians, including those working full-time, are finding it difficult to afford a roof over their heads. According to a recent report by SGS Economics and Planning, 42% of all low-income households are allocating more than 30% of their income to housing expenses. This figure increases to 47% for households in New South Wales and spikes to 58% for Australia's private rental market. The country's national vacancy rate has hit a record low of 0.7%. In Perth and Adelaide, it is as low as 0.3%. Rental markets are insanely uncontrolled, thereby leaving households in a needle-in-a-haystack type of situation. Australia's housing crisis is a complex problem with deep roots in economic and social factors, but understanding these factors is the first step to finding a solution. It is essential to solve Australia's housing shortage in order to support productivity growth, which is a crucial factor to ease interest rates. But will the Australian government tackle this problem quickly? Or is Australia heading into an economic collapse? Come, let's explore these problems and potential solutions for this seemingly never-ending housing crisis. Now let's turn our attention to another critical factor: immigration. Australia has seen a significant increase in immigration over the past few years. Migration contributed to a record net annual increase of nearly 550,000 people to the country's population in September 2023, marking a significant rebound from a period of low migration during border closures after COVID-19. Population growth driven by immigration policies, the influx of international students and skilled migrants, has put additional pressure on the housing market. More people mean more demand for housing, and this increased demand has only exacerbated the affordability challenges many Australians face. Ross McEwen, CEO of National Australia Bank, has warned Australia's housing shortage could hamper economic growth. In an address today, McEwen shared his concerns for the housing market. If we can solve the housing issue, we can keep Australian economy growing at a good pace and keep productivity lifting in the marketplace, which will make us better as we export overseas as well. If we don't, well, I think Australia will slow down accordingly. This is how McEwen warned Aussies, calling the housing crisis a critical matter. It's crucial to remember that this isn't just about numbers and economics. This is about real people who are the fabric of our society and the fundamental human need for a safe and secure place to call home. The housing crisis is further exacerbated by a shortage of skilled construction workers. This deficit in the construction workforce presents a pressing challenge in the Australian housing sector. There are several factors contributing to this shortage. Firstly, the construction industry is grappling with an aging workforce. As seasoned construction professionals retire, there's a dearth of younger workers stepping into their shoes. This generational gap is a significant roadblock to maintaining a robust construction workforce. Secondly, limited apprenticeship opportunities are hindering the inflow of fresh talent into the industry. Apprenticeships offer hands-on experience and skills development, forming the backbone of the construction workforce. However, the dwindling number of these opportunities is making it increasingly difficult for aspiring young workers to break into the industry. Lastly, the construction industry is facing stiff competition from other sectors. Attractive job opportunities in fields like technology and finance are drawing potential workers away from construction. This trend is further depleting the pool of skilled labor in the construction sector. This shortage of construction workers has far-reaching implications. It's not just about unfinished buildings and delayed infrastructure projects. It's about the ripple effects these delays have on the housing crisis. With fewer workers on the ground, housing construction projects are taking longer than anticipated. This delay is creating a bottleneck in the housing supply. As the demand for housing continues to surge, a limited supply means prices are skyrocketing. This is further pushing housing out of reach for many, including full-time workers. The rental market is also feeling the pinch. With fewer new homes being built, rental properties are in short supply. This scarcity is driving up rental prices, making it increasingly difficult for renters to find affordable accommodation. In conclusion, the shortage of construction workers is not just an industry issue, it's a societal issue that's exacerbating Australia's housing crisis. With fewer hands on deck, housing construction projects are delayed, leading to a bottleneck in housing supply. Australia's housing crisis has evolved into a heated political battleground, with potentially significant implications for the upcoming federal election. The Greens have effectively brought housing to the forefront of mainstream political discourse. Now, the Liberal Party, recognising their diminishing appeal among younger voters, is entering the debate after privately acknowledging their absence from this critical issue. In the middle stands the Albanese government, which has agreed to build 1.2 million new homes within 5 years in order to tackle the housing crisis. However, the construction industry is expressing concerns about its ability to meet this target due to a shortage of workers and competition from state infrastructure projects for labour. Despite offering $3.5 billion to expedite construction through state and local councils, there are worries that the target, set to begin in a few months, may not be achieved. What does the future hold for Australia's housing market? That's the million-dollar question. As we look ahead, several factors will shape the trajectory of the Australian housing market. Government policies, interest rates, and economic conditions all play a role in the complex equation of housing affordability. Government interventions could potentially alleviate the crisis. Policies that encourage the construction of affordable housing, regulate property prices, and prioritize the needs of full-time workers are critical. Meanwhile, economic conditions and fluctuating interest rates will also influence the market dynamics. But it's not just about policies and economic factors. It's about creating sustainable solutions that improve housing affordability for everyone, especially full-time workers. Initiatives such as cooperative housing, rent-to-own schemes, and increased investment in social housing could be game changers. While the road ahead is challenging, it's important for all Australians to stay informed and advocate for policies that promote housing affordability and social equity. What are your thoughts on Australia's housing crisis? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Until next time, take care.